So you finally went on YouTube. You were looking at some videos on this stuff.
Yeah.
Whose videos were you looking at? What type of videos were you looking at?
I mean, I forget like who posted them, but like all the biggest ones when you find on YouTube that have like millions and millions of hits, they always say the same thing. They're all like, "Oh, you're a victim, you're who you're trying, takes two to tango," that kind of stuff. And then, she's not committal, all that kind of stuff. It's all crap, right? It's all
Mm.
stuff that's pretty much like we're gonna tell you what you want to hear, right? And make you feel better about the fact that you effed up. And yeah, it doesn't, like, maybe in the moment when I was watching those videos right away, I'm like, okay, maybe it makes me feel better for like a second or two, and then you know I go back to my partner and not talk about it, but like realize it didn't get me any closer, further along, didn't teach me anything, and I'm like, what's the point of these, like
Yeah.
but yeah, they all the most popular ones. They just say that, like, hey, you're a victim,
Yeah.
you tried, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think about that a lot because, you know, I'm working with like a brand expert right now, and he's asking basically, why don't you start making these kinds of videos too? And I said to him basically, I'm not gonna sell my soul and say something I don't agree with, that I don't stand for, which is like to enable victim mindset, stuff like that, just for views. If I'm gonna say what I need to say, if that's not popular, so be it. Whatever. Like, I don't really care.
Right.
um, so I think it was the video on the fundamental attribution error that really hit you.
Yeah.
Because I think you were saying that you had some road rage issues as well, and the road rage example that I gave you was actually resonant with you, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
um,
bad. I drove a lot. I commute a lot,
yeah.
and gosh, the second someone does, I think I told myself, because I drive so much, that it's okay to have road rage. Oh yeah, it's okay to. I get angry because I drive so much. No, like, they don't go hand in hand, but I, I told myself that, and then and sure enough, like, if someone cut me off or something like that, oh my gosh, I would take it so personal. I get angry. I'd say whatever curse word. I'd tailgate them too, like a crazy person. Oh my gosh.
Oh God. Yeah.
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 And you know what? Like, after seeing that video, it just resonated with me. Like, it was so much easier to not get angry. And I'm like, you know what? Who is this guy? I like he makes so much more sense. And
You know what's
then
funny about that, right? Because I used to have road rage too, and when I see other people having road rage, and back then I'd be like judging them, be like, "What the fuck are they doing, idiots?" Right? But
yeah,
then I was like that. That
yeah,
was me
yeah,
sometimes. And it's like total fundamental attribution error, right? When
right.
someone's doing the same thing, you judge their character, but when you're doing it, you're like, no, 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 you don't understand. This guy was
Yeah.
an asshole. Yeah, you
You don't
justify
understand.
it.
My kids got me late. I got to drive like this.
Yeah.
So
So you joined the program eventually.
yeah.
So this is, I think you started June 13th, 2023.
Yep.
1 month after, it didn't get better. It got worse actually. So your partner asked you to meet in a public space
Hmm.
and basically told you she didn't want to come home anymore. Wants to separate.
Right.
And if the separation happens, that means the kids would stay at her parents' place,
Hmm.
which is far away
Yeah.
from your place. Uh, what give us the play-by-play here.
So I was probably, yeah, a month into the program, and I kind of seen the writing on the wall. Like, the program at that point had taught me that, like, to at least look at her from her perspective a little bit. And so yeah, I kind of knew this conversation was coming. I did prepare for it. I don't know if, for those in the program, uh you know we I it gave me a chance to TTH. I know that's just an acronym to other people, but basically, I I did give her the chance to kind of like, let out some bad emotions that she's been like holding on to for a while. I probably didn't do the greatest job of performing what I was supposed to be doing, but I did tell her about the program, and uh I honestly, like, I could see her the whole time that she was talking, that like her mood changed. She was clearly kind of scared to tell me that she was gonna leave, basically.
Mm.
So couldn't do that in the safety of our home. We had to be in a public space because she was scared
She's
of what
scared,
my
yeah.
reaction might be. And like towards the end, when I told her about the program and everything I was learning and all that kind of stuff, like, she didn't chose not to go to where she had to be actually later. And just we sat and talked, and talked for a while, and it was actually, despite getting told that she's leaving me, it was probably the nicest conversation that we've had in like a year at that point. So
Mm.
but oh yeah, she was asking me questions about like what we're learning, and
Mm.
how she was proud of the fact that like I'm trying to better myself, because
Yeah,
I haven't tried
good.
to a long
So the
time.
TTH, guys, TTH is what we call the treating the hemorrhage. That is a script we teach our clients pretty much early on in the program, basically to avoid further hemorrhaging, right? So people use this whenever there's a conversation, interaction happening. It's not meant to heal the relationship, but it's meant to just like stop the bleeding, stop the more damages, right? This is the script you stick with. Um, but then you went to the community afterwards, you said, the program community, and you started like telling a story about like, oh my God, it's so amazing. And then you got some tough love. Like, what do you remember that tough love you were getting? Like, what was the nature of it? What were people saying to you? What were people trying to say to you?
uh it was basically we're taught to reinterpret like a lot of our events and a lot of like uh our issues to further create like a better bulletproof vest. And I remember you asked me to do like a very simple exercise, and to like reinterpret it, and I would vaguely answer and then just move on. And then yeah, I remember you saying like, well, that's not what I asked you to do. Like, watch these looms and then tell me what like what you think of each. And I watched the looms, and I said, oh, thanks for reaching out, gee, I appreciate all your help. And then yeah, bullshit, 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 and then left the conversation again. And you're like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, pay attention to what I'm saying, please. And it's still, it was very clear, like I had my old ways still, and I wanted to kind of twist and bend the program so that it fit those ways, and um which is not good. Right? So
Yeah.
um yeah, it was like I couldn't follow simple instructions because it didn't fit what like my old, you know ways of thinking were, you know so.
Yeah.
And that's how we're here, right? Like, so but
The thing I always say to people is like this, right? It's like, um, you can't bullshit the master kind of thing. Because I'm not one of those coaches who just teaches this stuff, but I don't do it. I don't follow it. Like I follow it. I follow it to the T of what I teach, and I do it to this day. And so, when someone is, how you can tell sometimes when someone's lying because you ask them some questions about. So for example, I was talking to this entrepreneur, right? And so I just asked him about his business, and the more specific my questions about it, the more vague his answers got. And I'm like, I don't think you know what you're talking about. I think you're just bullshitting, right? And it's kind of the same thing here where I've done the processes. I know what it sounds like. I know the details of it. And when I talk to someone who's like not understanding the details of it, I'm like, you don't do it then. I don't think you know what it is. And that was kind of what I saw on you, right? At that
yeah,
point in time, it's like, no, 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 I know you're bullshitting, okay? So,
yeah, no,
and I'm glad you woke up from that. And we'll talk about kind of like you processing the tough love that we give in the program as well. how did you process the complexity in the beginning? Like when you first saw how long, how much work the program required of you, what were your initial thoughts? What was going through your mind?
Initially, I was just trying to run through each module as quickly as I can so I can get to the end, right? I'm like, I just want to get from point A to point B. And I didn't, as I got further along the program, I realized how really complex this is and how much you really have to turn your brain on. And then that's actually when it started to scare me. I'm like, oh man, I had in the past, I was always the type that, you know, I couldn't follow directions for long enough, right? If my partner came home with like something I had to assemble from IKEA or something like that, I would skim the instructions and be like, all right, let me
Mm.
wing this. I got this. And then I didn't take the time to actually to really like focus in on what I'm reading and, learning. But then yeah, when as soon as I got a little further along in the program and I realized like, wow, you really gotta turn your brain on, and you have to take these DPPs, or our daily practice processes, very seriously, and you have to be consistent. And I just didn't know how much work this is going to be. I thought this
Funny
was going to
because
be
when you enroll, Jason told you this is gonna be a fucking shit ton of work. Are you sure you want to buy this program?
right.
Right? He asked you that, but I
Five
don't think
times.
you were expecting this much work, right?
Right. It's like you just didn't know. I mean, no one wants to admit that they have low standards, pretty much, and that's exactly what I had. I had very low standards of what my work would entail. And uh man, I got my butt kicked for a little while. And then yeah, that's actually going back to what you said earlier. That was when I was getting that tough love from everyone, being like, all right, it's clear that you're not doing the work. You got lucky with this little victory here, but I mean, it could have been way better, one, and two, you're lucky you didn't fuck it up. And yeah, that was when I had to restart, and I had to restart a couple times because
It's interesting because I was having a conversation with David Sylvester. He's a new coach now, right? And he was asking me because his problem was that he was having a hard time being kind of like direct with his clients, right? With people. And I told him this analogy of like, okay, think about this, right? Right now, if like there's some people in life, like some celebrities, public figures, you don't hate them, but you don't love them too. You just kind of neutral about them, right? Like, I don't know, I don't have any opinions about that person, whatever. But you think about like some characters like Donald Trump, for example. And I'm not saying I like these people or not, but like Donald Trump, like right now, Taylor Swift, right? These are people you either hate or love. They they force you to polarize them. You can't be like neutral about them, right? You have to be
right,
either like, I fucking love them or I fucking hate them. And I want people to feel that way about this program, right? I don't want people to come into this program thinking just like, I'm just neutral about it. I want you to either fucking love it, obsess about it, or fucking die. Like, just abandon it, just leave it. And the way we polarize your decision is we give you that tough love to go like, okay, after we give you this tough love, are you going to rise or are you going to sink? But you are not going to be on the fence for very long. You chose the path of like, I want to rise. What made you want to rise? Because you are just always a few thoughts away from sinking. What were the thoughts you were thinking to make you get that tough love and go like, okay, I'm going to double down. Fuck yes.
right. I mean, it's like, how bad do you want it, right? Like you join the program, you have this goal, right? It's always usually centered around your partner, right? Do I if I want her back, am I gonna bust my ass to get her, right? Like someone wrote in the program too, as a and gave me a quote, and said, you know, it's written on my little wall right here. It says, if you love your wife and kids as much as you say you do the work, right? So, you know, saying talk is cheap, and you know, your actions speak louder than words. So if you really want the outcome that you join the program for, you set out for, there's only one way to get it, and it's not going to be easy. You know, I think it's your first module says, there's the quote that says, you know, like, the work is hard, but so is divorce. So, you know, like
Yeah, choose your
marriage
hard.
is hard, divorce is hard too. Like, choose your hard, right? So, yeah, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go through the pain. I'm gonna fuck it up probably, but I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna try my best. And there was still plenty of times where I remember you sent me a loom that said, like, hey, I could see you're trying, but like, how did your
Not good
weight
enough.
there?
Yeah.
You know, like, what are you thinking? And you know, it's fine. You know, it's just that was definitely something that I needed to overcome, was, you know, being able to take criticism,
Mm.
and, you know, just understand, like, okay, they're helping me. They're trying to teach me to be better. They're yelling at me because they think I can do better, right?
Right.
Like, if there wasn't any potential there, that's when you get radio silence. So, like, take that as a blessing. And I'm trying to use these lessons with my own children too, which is great. And like, look, we say these things because we want better from you, and you should expect better from yourself. And that was it was good. It was something I needed to hear. I needed to, like, stop just going through the motions and do everything correctly.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll be where you want to be, I suppose. So
I think there was a couple of things for me personally that, you know, because obviously I made this program myself, right? So there wasn't a program or a community to like get me to get motivated. Obviously, I had to like source the motivation within. For me, what motivated me was, number one, I realized that I could not escape the work, right? That even if I start a new relationship, still gonna have my anger problems. I'm still gonna have my issues of not being able to like communicate properly in a relationship, how to make a woman feel safe, feel truly protected, truly provided, etc. How to create the high level values, for example. I could lie to myself all day long that I had it or don't, but at the end of the day, I don't have it, right? And I can either learn it now or wait 5, 10, 15 years when I'm like 45, 50, when I have less time to actually enjoy those learnings. Why would I do that? That makes no sense.
right.
The second one, so the first one is really about like just the fact that the problem is me, and I know I need to fix this problem no matter what. Number two is I finally understood and felt what was at stake, right? This is, if you think about it, this is the one relationship that you're going to be spending the most time with for the longest period of time. Like, think about how many meals you'll spend with this person. Think about how many good mornings, good nights you'll say to this person. Think about that this is the person you will have after you fucking retire. After your kids leave your house, this is the person who will determine your happiness here, right? This is the one relationship that trumps all relationship. This is the one relationship that will trump career even. This is the one relationship that is more determinant of your happiness than even kids. Sorry to say, right? Like, because your kids will eventually go have their own life, but you and your wife, you're always going to be there, right? Or if you have another wife, that person, the same thing. So if you cannot thrive in this particular relationship, it's going to be tough for you for a long time, for forever, right? And you can say, for example, like, well, that's why I don't want a relationship. Well, that's fine, but it sucks to feel lonely too, right?
Yeah.
And, the third thing I realized too is, if you want, you know how this is saying, right? Don't pray for life to get easier, pray for you to get stronger. And I realized that relationships, life, it's not going to get any easier. It's probably going to get harder, especially if I later have kids right? As we get older, we have more responsibilities. Relationships and marriages become harder, but it can be very fulfilling at the same time. So instead of me complaining about how tough relationships are, I can become stronger. I can become better so that I can thrive through all those things. And I can thrive despite all those things too. Um, you know, like I said to this client, right? It's like, if you cannot take tough love, if you cannot take tough journeys, right? You're basically saying to the world, you're so fragile that you can't learn from your failures. You can't learn from your challenges. And if that's what you say to the world, you basically might as well just put a fucking sticker on your head to say, like, I'm so fragile. Please do not tell me anything I need to work on because I'm not capable of working on anything. Right? That's really embarrassing if you think about it. And
Yeah.
when people don't give you tough love, or when people don't tell you what you need to hear, it's not because you're not doing anything wrong. It's usually because people are just too scared to tell you what's going wrong because of how you would react. Right?
Yeah. I was gonna say my ego was incredibly fragile. You told me anything, I'd just get immediately defensive. So
right.
Looking back, it's just like, gosh, they're trying to help you. You can't even see it for what it is.
Exactly. And it's like the moment when your coaches stop helping you, that's when you should worry because that's when they stop believing in you, right? Because we coach you, we get tough on you because we know you can be level 5,000. Why are you at 50? We're like, why the fuck are you at 50? Why are you accepting 50? Right? And we'll stop giving you tough love when we think in our head, okay, 50 is the best you got. Fine then. Just be happy with your 50. That's more insulting to me. Right. So a lot of people like take our tough love and they feel insulted. I'm like, why? I should be more insulted if you don't give me tough love because that means like you think this is the best I can do, bro. Right.
Right. Like what's more important, your feelings or your results?
Or your results.
So
and the next thing that really got me to wake up was like seeing other people's standards, right? I think like you said, I give this example of, let's say you've been practicing running and you've been practicing running for a year. And you used to run a 12-minute mile. Now you run an 8-minute mile. And you say to your wife, like, man, I'm such a world-class learner. I feel like fucking Usain Bolt out there, right? I feel fucking amazing. It's so good. And then you go to like a 5K race and you realize, wait, everyone's running 4-minute miles. What the fuck? And you get shocked for the first time in your life, right? You realize that your high standards are not actually that high.
Right.
And I think that's what you felt in this program, right? You came in thinking like, I got this, right? But then you quickly saw other people, me, the coaches going like, okay, they're running 4-minute miles right now.
And that's the beauty of the community is like, okay, that it humbles you for sure. Like, all right, I got some work to do if I want to catch up to these guys, right? So, and I'm and I always enjoyed competition, so that came on, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, let's go.
Yeah. So I guess like this kind of we'll end with this point by saying basically, there's a recent announcement we made in the community where we said, if you want the program to take you to level 50, it will take you there. If you wanted to take you to level 5,000, it will take you there. And I think in the beginning, you were expecting the program to just take you to like level 50, 100, right? And so I think the reason why people bend the program sometimes is because, I'm teaching them how to get to level 5,000. But then they're only wanting to get to level 100 and they're thinking in their mind, I mean, I don't really want to go there. So I'm not going to follow Jeff exactly like what he said. I'm just going to adapt it to just meet where I want to go. Right.
Right. And honestly, like I said, standards. And also, I mean, there's a lot of tough truths that you have to admit to yourself. Like, hey, I am not that good. And
that's hard. Yeah.
And once you can get over that fact, like then you can, put in the necessary work to keep improving and, and who knows what the limit is. Right. But Yeah, I joined the program such low standards, thinking like, all right, I'm just gonna learn a few things here and there, like learn things to say, that kind of stuff, and everything will be fine. It'll work itself out, And not the case, not the case at all. You like the amount of work is real, and you know, learning, like thinking now that I know what I know, thinking back, like I have almost like 40 years of bad tendencies and bad habits that I need to break. Like if I thought this was going to be like a quick fix, then you're an
Yeah.
idiot, right? Like
Yeah.
no, this is gonna this has to be like one of my main focuses in life, which it is. And like you said, you eat, sleep, and drink the program, and I'm trying to constantly find time, more and more time that I can do what I'm supposed to do to further myself along. And I'm excited for where it can take me, right? And yeah, it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be a lot of hard work. I tell my kids all the time, like if you want to play at 100%, you got to practice at 100%, and that's what
Yeah.
we do. So
Yeah. And the last thing to close this point too is also, you know, we talk about it's actually really hard to get to the point when your partner wants to leave and not look back. Like it's actually really hard to do that. And so sometimes I find some people who still maintain their high value denial that they have, even though their partner is like literally running for the hills, right?
yeah,
Like she's willing to leave memories. She's willing to like basically eat up her sunk cost of like having spent years with you. She's willing to leave usually after she has gone past her prime in terms of like physically, in terms of like reproductively, even financial cost. I mean, emotional cost. I mean, so much cost. Like even logistical cost if you have kids. She's wanting to take on all that cost just to get the fuck out of your life. That's pretty fucking hard to do. So, you know, if you guys are having a partner who's like wanting to leave and run for the hills and you're still maintaining that denial, dude, like come on, man, like wake up, right?
that
Um
was that was definitely a tough one to swallow. And you know, when you think about it though, because I have a job where a lot of people kind of validate me, and you know, not only do I have my brain that would say like, "Oh, you're a great person, you're a great guy," I also had other people that would say like, "Oh, you're such a good dude, you'll find someone." And but then when you really think about what she's doing, right? Like we're talking about your partner who knows you better than everybody in the world, probably better than myself. And she's giving up money. She went back to work to, you know, she basically moved in with her parents, and like she's doing all these difficult things, taking almost like steps back in her own life so that she can get the fuck away from me, right? Like how good, how amazing of a dude am I
yeah.
if she's willing to go through all that trouble basically just to get away from me. And like I said, she knows me better than I probably know myself. So like what does that say about you,
Yeah.
And uh
It's like the standards, right? It's like you're asking someone to spend their one and only life and dedicate it to you. That's a freaking big ask. That's the biggest ask you can ask of anyone. Like you don't even ask this of your kids. You don't even ask this of your workplace. You don't even ask this of yourself sometimes, right? Like because sometimes you betray yourself. You're asking your partner to like never betray you. That's a big ask. And if you're asking can ask something that big, are you sure the value you're creating is that big too? Or are you just creating low level values? Are you just creating the value, the standards that you want to create, the value that you want to create? Or are you actually giving her what she needs to actually make that decision with her heart just poured into that decision, right?
right.
There's a big difference there.
And like society tells you that like what are high values, like it's all possessive things, like materialistic things, money, all that kind of stuff. And so you think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I convinced myself that I was high value because of those things. And it's clear, in the program you learn that like the biggest pillar that you have to create is emotional safety. And like that trumps everything pretty much, right? So, or it starts with there. So, or with
Yeah.
that. And I wasn't doing a good job in that regard. So, first step in addiction is that you have to admit that you have a problem, and I had a problem. So,
Yeah.
uh, you know, now that we know, we can
We
do
can
something
fix it.
about it.
Yeah. It's funny because you say that because like even for my relationship, you know, we take home as a household now about 3 to 5 million a year, and she doesn't care. Like what she wants to hear about every single day, every single night is not how business went, how much money we made. What she wants to hear is really about us and us starting a family and us starting like building emotional safety together, us how we admire each other, like how the goals that we can align on, the passion, enjoying each other's like company and the passion that comes along with that. Money, like she doesn't care. She doesn't care if I suddenly go broke tomorrow. I don't think she gives a shit, right? Like she always says to me, no matter what happens to your business, Jeff, I don't really care. Like we can go out to like sell fucking camels and grow camels and sheep and go somewhere like in a farm and have nothing. As long as we have like what we need to survive and the higher pillars, I'm good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Um,